John, how's the weather out there in North Dakota?
You caught us on a good day. Yesterday was definitely pretty cold. I don't know. It was still warmer than it has been. Probably in the lower teens. And then today's in the 40s, so it's not too shabby.
Yeah, it's
a nice day out there.
It's 32 here today in Massachusetts.
Oh,
so
nice. Yep.
But it's a nice day as opposed to some of the other things. So
yeah, that's a good thing.
Cool. Why don't we get started? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Palo Pierce. I am with Eduporium. I'm the Vice President of Sales. And I wanted to welcome you and thank you for attending today's webinar. Our focus today, we have had some previous conversations on robotics and different items like that. And today we wanted to kind of look a little bit more into what some of the products and solutions you might have in a makerspace or innovation center. And we're pleased that John Olhoft, the president of Lutzbot, has joined us, and his counterpart, Sierra Olhoft, who's in charge of business development. And they're going to take us through working with Lutzbot and 3D printers in education. We have a strategic relationship with Lutzbot. We've worked with other customers, and we look forward to a great 2021. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to let you, John, take over.
Excellent. Thank you, Palo. So a little bit about LulzBot. This is actually our company's 10th year anniversary. Kind of around the 2019 timeframe, the company moved from Loveland, Colorado, up to Fargo, North Dakota, where we're at right now. We've got 75 employees, a little over 60,000 square feet, and we build all of our 3D printers right here in the United States. A lot of the components are sourced right here in the U.S. Motherboards coming out of Tennessee, sheet metals coming out of Valley City, North Dakota. We do all the 3D printed parts in-house, which we'll touch on that a little bit later, but that's one of the coolest things about 3D printers is that you're able to actually make parts for them with the machines themselves. And it's been a very exciting year for our company up here in Fargo, North Dakota. So education's always been a big partner with LulzBot, as have maker spaces. One of the most attractive things about our company has been the open source nature. So when it comes to free thinking, when it comes to modifying, expanding on ideas, making machines that would be for a custom application, ours are tops in that field. A lot of those aluminum extrusions that we feature on most of our designs would make it very easy to add either additional robotics that you could program off of G-code or cameras. Yeah, so that's a little bit about LulzBot. We've got a few of the models here running with us today. For those of you who are familiar with 3D printers, one of the things you've probably endured in a classroom is the noise or the whine of those printers. By using trinamic drivers in like our TAZ Pro that we have here, you'll notice that I'm able to have a nice conversation and actually do this webinar just a foot or two away from a 3D printer without listening to that whining or squealing like you'd have with some of the earlier generation 3D printers that are out there, or your cheaper 3D printers.
Don't have to worry about putting it in a library.
Yeah.
Whisper quiet.
Absolutely. So as we look at the printers themselves, I guess, Sierra, if you want to talk a little bit about like the auto leveling feature and some of the pain points that you might have with different manufacturers when it comes to 3D printers.
Yeah, definitely. So right here we got the TAZ Pro line, which is really good. And we also have the Mini there with the enclosures. We actually just have new enclosures, so we're really excited about that too. And amongst tool heads and other accessories too. So yeah, they're definitely great machines. We have the TAZ Workhorse here too, with that nice big 11.02 inch by 11.02 inch bed, and that's really great. The Mini is close to more 6.5 inches, so that's really good too. So if you for different projects, you can definitely have what you need here. So, yeah.
Hey, Sierra and John, hey, just one quick thing. When you guys are talking, if you could talk to the front, because we can't hear you as much when you go there. Hey, question came up a little bit. You mentioned something about G code.
Yeah.
Could you just, someone asked a question, what is G code?
Oh, perfect. So most robotics machines like 3D printers or 3D printers themselves use what they call a G code script. This is going to allow you to send commands to the printer to start heating up your nozzle, to heat up your bed, to actually have the X, Y, and Z movement to make the shape you're looking for. But the best part about it is you don't even need to know it's called G code to use it. What we've done is we've created a free software that is Cura LulzBot Edition. It's free to download from our website. Every one of the machines we make is compatible with it. So after you purchase your TAZ Workhorse, your TAZ Pro, or your Mini 2, and download this software, you're able to select, okay, I've got a Mini 2, I have this tool head, and then you can hit finish, and the whole thing in the background is going to be set up for you. From there, you'll be able to go to Thingiverse or a different 3D model repository, or if your students are doing design in the classroom, you can take that design from Tinkercad or say they're working with Fusion 360 or something like that. You can take that design, import it into Cura LulzBot Edition, and then on the right, you'll be able to pick if you want it just standard detail, high speed, and then you pick the filament that you're using. A lot of other, and then from there you hit slice, and you can go right to your printer and start printing. A lot of other slicers, a lot of other printers add quite a bit of complexity, especially for new users, when it comes to needing to know all of your different temp settings, needing to know various retraction speed, retraction distance, linear advance. There's probably 300 different settings to a 3D printer. We test all of that here ahead of time and make pre-made profiles. So even as we look at the various filaments that we sell through our ecosystem or through Eduporium, these are filaments that we've already tested, certified, created pre-made profiles so that you can get going right away, load the filament in, and create the object that you're trying to. Just trying to make it as easy as possible, especially when you're first starting out. That's not to say you can't change those things. So there's two columns, one's recommended and the other's advanced. If you do click advanced, you can get into all those settings and change it. Or if you start to see students excel in the classroom or in a hybrid learning environment, they have that available that they can go and they can learn what these different settings do. What tweaking the retraction distance or messing with linear advance results on the surface print of the surface finish of the part they're trying to print.
So basically that G code, they would be able to, the out-of-box experience can be very simple, but if you wanted to get up into more extensive, or deeper level, you have the ability to customize it for more of a higher depth, more experience or something like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Got it. Another question came up. You mentioned filaments. You showed a couple different reels. I mean, how does that, with your head, does the print head only take one filament at a time? How do you handle different filaments that may come up?
Good question.
So one of the things that we've done, and as you shop for 3D printers, look at 3D printers, you might see a pretty big price difference. And you might wonder why that is. A large part of having good luck with many different materials on your printer comes down to actually having that reliability, that repeatability, and ability to actually keep steady state on a temperature necessary to melt plastic. Our tool heads are able to handle about 30 completely different materials right out of the box. So if you can find it and it's the right diameter, you can print with it with our machines. The one exception would be once you get into the NASA grade materials where you're looking at PEEK or Baltum. Those, our printers can print. We just, it's really hot and you have to start thinking about other considerations. So we almost work with individuals trying to do that on a one-off basis. as well as those materials get quite expensive. Whereas a normal kilogram of material might be roughly $20 to $30. You could be looking at upwards of $100 per kilogram. And for reference, that's a spool about this big.
We have peak for the aerospace engineers.
Yeah. So we do make stuff that can do it, but
yeah.
we generally work on a one-on-one basis to try to make that a successful experience when that happens.
Yeah.
Halo also mentioned the ability to kind of print multiple materials. One of the most exciting things in 3D printing has been dual extrusion. So on our Pro model, what you'll see is we actually have 2 nozzles. And what's very, very unique about our printers is that they're linear actuated. So these 2 are at different heights right now. That's what you would want. Let's say we filled this one with a water-soluble material and this one with a hardened plastic. We could print the one out of hard plastic, and then when it gets done, these 2 nozzles would switch heights, making it so that the nozzle that's down doesn't drag over the work you've already done. And that's something unique to LulzBots. Most others either don't do that at all, so you've got both nozzles that stay down at that same height and kind of drag across each other, or they work on a tipping method to get one nozzle lower. Again, they tend to drag or not function as well. So we've actually made 2 completely independent tool heads that linear actuate up and down. The other benefit of this is we can have those at completely different temperatures. So if you've got 2 different materials, like this drill here, the trigger is actually made out of a flexible material, and some of the rest of it is out of a harder plastic. These 2 melt at completely different temperatures, but through the use of a tool head like this, you're able to print those in one piece, which gets to be pretty fun. Another example of that would be, I mentioned the water soluble. This would be a print that uses a water soluble material and a hard plastic all in the same print. After you would complete this, you take a bucket of warm water, and you can actually dissolve the lighter material away entirely, saving you quite a bit of time when it comes to removing support materials, as well as you can now do inner journals or inner geometries that normally you wouldn't have access to, but the water can go in and dissolve that support material out.
Great. So in that particular case, that white filament would dissolve, and then you'd be just left with the green one, correct?
Yep.
And was that built with the dual head?
Yes. Yep.
It was great. Another question came up, John and Sierra, is how about someone who's new to setting up, a 3D printer? How quick do they set up one of your printers out of the box and get it running?
Well, let's hear
Plug and play. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's out of the box, already assembled, which is one of the beauties of LulzBot.
Every single printer we make, we print with here at the factory right before it goes in the box.
Yeah.
So it'll go through a full calibration. If there was anything that needed to be tweaked or adjusted for that particular machine, that work is done. And then we have our engineered foam around it, double-walled packaging. So when that box shows up, you open it up. The Mini 2 especially is all one piece. You just set it on the table, or with our TAZ models, there's the outer frame, and you just set the bed on. The box would be pretty massive. To give you an idea, I mean, some of the projects we do on TAZ printers start to get pretty beefy, and we'll do them in multiple parts. If you're trying to talk to students on biology about different things inside of a large skull or how something may have looked, you can make things that reliably come out, especially when you get really big, and they fit together the way they were supposed to.
Cool. A couple quick questions just that have come up. Talk a little, do you have a sheet, and I know you do, a presentation that covers all the different types of filaments, the suggested time for curing, the strength, its porosity, the colors, etc. Do you have something like that? And then recommended uses, whether it's in a classroom or something that might be more of a production product?
Yes, so we try to guide a lot of that on our website, even by experience level, where you've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Even when we look at the different upgrades or the different tool heads and we talk about those, we try to break it into those categories. For example, like a flexible filament like this. So we've got a universal joint here. This boot is actually a flexible material that keeps
Right yeah, keeps it shaped.
Keeps a nice grip
Yep.
on the rest of the U-joint. This would fall into kind of that intermediate category. Let's say your students have mastered doing hard plastics, but now they want to start looking at gaskets or bump stops or something that would clip over like this.
Yep.
You're gonna probably be looking for a little bit different tool head. You might be looking for a different size nozzle to print faster.
Yep.
Speed is a really big thing when you start to look at tool heads, as is nozzle material. If you're printing with a heavy carbon fill or abrasive material, they tend to wear out or oversize your brass or your nickel-plated copper nozzles. So that's why we've developed an entire series that has hardened stainless steel, so that you can get good longevity. And I guess longevity with the LulzBot is a big part of our machines.
Known for it.
If you want to talk about kind of the type of life that
definitely.
users tend to get out of it.
And maybe also, Sierra, touch on your warranty and stuff like that too.
Yes, yep. So all printers come with a 1-year warranty, just for free of purchase, and then above that you can get to 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year extended warranties as well.
Okay.
And we have excellent customer support, domestic here in the U.S.
Yep,
So,
full-time support department.
Yep, they're
Call
the
in.
best.
They love talking to you about your different questions, what you're trying to do. They'll test things on site here. If it's real unique, you can send them G code, and they'll actually see, oh, okay, well, if we try changing it like this, maybe you'll have a little bit better luck or whatnot.
Yep.
So,
Oh, they know everything.
yeah, they're very, very
I
good.
can go to them.
And your staff is, majority of it is right in North Dakota, correct?
We're all in the same building. That makes things easy.
Yep,
So,
effective communication.
Yep, R&D can go down to production, help them out, talk about different things. Logistic can let us know, hey, this needs to happen, so that we can get these shipped out. We like to ship right away.
Yeah.
Being located here in the U.S., it's easy for us to hit anything in North America incredibly fast, and have the printers in stock, have the filament in stock, the tool heads in stock, enclosures, kind of you name it, the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, and so you have both manufacturing, your support all in one building. And we can attest as an organization. I know we did a large project this summer with Harmony Public Schools across Texas. It was over 30 schools putting in maker spaces, innovation centers to build PPE. And you guys did an excellent job of getting that product out in a time of really kind of complex logistics. And and some of these schools had multiple printers going to multiple sites. So we just want to say it's an example of some of your flexibility, and you guys are great to work with. And that project is a critical project. I think it was great. There's some videos out on the web of them building the PPE, the kids building, different shields and things like that for PPE using your printers. So, which is great to see. So, hey, couple other questions. Will the dual head work on the Lutzbot TAZ 6?
We developed a different dual head for that. I don't have it in this room today, but it's
B3.1. The dual head B3.1. It's the new iteration that helps. It's been improved for the heat creep and that sort of thing. So it's definitely ready to rock.
So that's available as an option for someone who might have a TAZ 6 or something like that as an upgrade.
Yeah.
And then a couple other questions. You had showed that that U-joint or whatever, right? It was 2 different surfaces. In the different filaments that you have, do they have different cure periods? How long, in regards that, they'll be ready to work with, after they've been printed?
So everything after it's done printing is ready to go.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest benefits to using fused filament fabrication or FFF. 3D printing is your plastics, they're actually cooling as you print them.
Yeah.
So you'll notice each one of these tool heads has a shroud around the nozzle.
Yeah.
That plastic shroud is actually solidifying the plastic as you print. So when it's all the way done, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
You'll pop off, even shapes like this that are nothing more than for holding a tool head to display it. We'll design, and shortly after it's printed, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Now, on some of them, you might have to carve off some little pieces or stuff like that. Some of the, little pieces.
Yeah, if you had the support material.
Yeah, exactly.
Say, there was a pretty steep overhang. Let's see if there's, this would be a support material. I'm trying to think of our printers do it.
This one again dissolves in water.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, maybe on this one.
Yeah.
So we've got an articulated
Vertebrae.
vertebrae of a spine that we've printed here. When these pieces were laid out on a printer, you actually had a little bit of support material that you would break away and pull out. And we ship with a full toolkit that has your snips and pliers and things like that to just take these support materials out.
Yep. It comes with a little kit. And also to get started with a 3D printer, we have out of the box assembly, like we said before, but we also have the instruction booklet that's very intuitive and easy to follow too.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into that side.
Yeah, no, it's really easy to get set up.
Our internal work instructions to build these printers are completely public.
Yeah, for open source.
So if you go to OHAI, OHAI, it stands for Open Hardware Assembly Instructions. You can actually see the steps that we use here at the factory to build every single part of the machine. 35% of our machine is 3D printed in-house. We have all those step files available so you can import them and actually print the parts for your printer on your printer.
Yeah, we're very transparent.
Which is really nice there. Let's say your school had a special color or something.
Yeah,
You could
exactly.
print those.
Yeah.
Cool. Talk a little bit about, because this is education, could be K through 12 colleges, whatever. There may be people, libraries, that may not be as familiar with how to work with a 3D printer. Is there certification? Is there training? In addition to, any manuals you have?
So we've got a pretty expansive YouTube library of different how-to videos. There's some projects on our website. One that I'm fond of and I think of right off the bat is there was a full-size longboard project. And it kind of stepped you through the different steps as well as thinking about, okay, if I do the main body out of such and such material, it's this big, then I should order these pieces of hardware and get these other pieces together to finish the project on that side of things. There is a lot of different YouTube videos, and I use YouTube quite a bit, that's why I keep mentioning it, but on different curriculum or lessons. One of our power users, Mr. Erdrich, he's over in New Jersey. They use 18 their school district, and what he's done is he's actually taken to creating lessons on Instructables.com with their LulzBots, and he's found that's a really good way in kind of a hybrid setting. He was able to bring home some of these printers and still connect with his students via webcam like this and teach them about the 3D printing, or even have the students, because the software is free, they could still design or slice on their own without the printer and send him the files, and he'd be able to print and they'd be able to look at the physical files. Kind of a fun side note, he got featured as one of Mazda's heroes for kind of a push that they're doing this year. And there's some really good information on what he did to help in a time of COVID, and how he incorporated his school and that side of learning.
Great. Hey, maybe Sierra, when this webinar, maybe you could give us some URLs to that, you know, so we can kind of get them out to people on that particular story, and then also maybe on the filaments and different types and how to make that selection on what type of filament and anything else you guys have on training. And we could send that out to everybody who either attended or registered. That'd be very helpful.
I'd love to, yeah.
Great.
For sure.
What else can you guys talk a little bit? I think we're out of questions, and just want to, is there other things you want to mention about you know, why your printers are great?
We could talk about our printers all day.
Yeah.
One of the fun things, or a question that we get very often is, can your printer print metal?
Oh,
And I always kind of tilt my head and I say, well, kind of.
Kind of.
So what our printers work really good for in like the casting or foundry industry is making your precastings or your molds. Now this is a really fun shop project if you're teaching students how to do like aluminum casting, but you can pre-print the object in a polycast. It's very light, it's a nice, easy to work with material, and then come back and do your pour where you're actually then making the component out of metal. And it's a direct replica of whatever you 3D printed. Our printers are very common in the casting community, I guess you'd say. They enjoy using them for this exact purpose. And it's a fun project where I could see maybe at the high school level or universities, if they were having some very specific things they could then cast with them.
So you see people kind of starting out with maybe the PLA type stuff, you know, filament, and then as they get their design finalized, and they move up to the more expensive filament, the more permanent ones type of filaments is what you're actually getting at.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yes.
LulzBot is definitely known for being able to start as a beginner right out of the box, and then as you learn more and more, you can actually apply that to this printer in any different industry that you are in. So it's
Cool. Any what can you mention about bundles? Do you have any type of bundles for education? Something you want to talk about in that space?
Yeah, so our education bundle generally varies quarter to quarter. Typically what we try to do is 4 mini printers and 1 TAZ printer. That allows enough that students can be printing some of the smaller stuff, and then they still have access to the bigger printer if they've got a project like that. Included in that, we generally include between 60 and 90 spools of filament. We'll try to put emphasis on the school colors. And then actually one of the things that we have that we're looking at incorporating is a education banner. And Eric, if you want to tilt the camera. So this banner that's in the background doing these types of things just kind of has nice free stuff that you can have for your classroom to kind of have that LulzBot experience or that LulzBot portion of your classroom. But we will be having some more bundles coming up in this upcoming year. We found that a lot of customers like that, where they can purchase the bundle and they know they have everything. It's very simple, they're good to go. They've got filaments, there's maybe a couple tool heads to try, the machines, some enclosures. They're set for printing.
Yep.
Cool. Hey, and that one thing you have on top of the Mini, which was the spine, that was printed in different pieces, correct?
Yes, yep. So these actually clip together.
Yeah, just like Legos.
So you'd be able to...
and that is all made as one piece, is that correct? Each section?
Yeah, yes. Each section would be a single piece.
And they would just print on the print just
they
like that.
print flat like this.
Yep.
The support material would help support kind of like the piece that I'm holding with my hand here.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's...
So just I know you mentioned this before, but sometimes I can be thick. So one, I could design that from scratch, that particular vertebrae, right? Or you said there's some databases or places where I can go, and you said what, Thingiverse and what else?
Yep, Thingiverse is a good one. GrabCAD tends to be a really good one for engineering.
Yeah.
One of the things that you'll see a big push for in the coming months, due to COVID, the need for a national digital stockpile was brought up, and kind of the more governmental level, there's a lot of discussions about having a digital stockpile available so that if something happens, you can take your basically the 3D printing community, whether it's teachers in classrooms or hobbyists or people in industry, and you can say this is the design that's going to help solve whatever it is, and have them start printing immediately.
Yeah.
But these repositories are available on the web. Most files are free.
Yeah.
There are some that have premium STL files. Like My Mini Factory would be another one that has both premium files as well as free files available on that side of things.
Cool. I got to ask this question. It came up from someone in the audience. Tell me a little bit about why someone should pick a Lutzbot printer over, say, a MakerBot or a Creator Ender 3 or something like that.
Yeah, totally. So like the Ender 3 comes up a lot. Do you want your printer to last 3 months or 3 years? That's pretty much what it comes down to. Yeah, our printers are meant to be maintenance free. Repeatability, reliability, and performance. Those are the 3 big things that we strive for at LulzBot. Having you be able to send a print to them and do it over and over and over and over again. We actually use our printers in-house. They run 24/7 producing the components for our printers. On average, we see over 426 days of print time on a Mini 2 before we have to start doing maintenance, swapping out the bushings and different things. That kind of print time's unheard of.
That's constant.
Yeah, so they last. Also, if you ever had a classroom with kids and they get a little bit rowdy or they knock stuff off or they mess with things, these printers are built for that. The U.S. military is also a big customer of ours. They'll actually take and have these printers in scenarios that are incredibly tough, harsh environments where they need to rely on them to work.
Yeah, for a lab, you can actually go to, I'll send you some URLs and stuff, but you can go to the shakeability test.
Yeah,
or the Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, we've got one where there's a rock crawler with a Mini 2 strapped to the back of it going up.
The level 4.
Yeah, we'd love to see that. That'd be kind of cool. So, and then the other thing, I think just a couple from my side is, one is the fact you guys are completely open, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, the fact the filament can be bought through you, which is probably recommended, but you know, it's an open system, and where some of the other systems are a little more closed in regards to how they work and stuff like that, including their software. So
yeah, and even on that side of things, we've really taken into consideration teachers' budgets and how much they can spend on filming and keeping these running. I'll actually share with you guys something brand new that's happening in the upcoming month. So Amazon Basic, Hatchcock, T-Sun, these are filaments we don't carry. We aren't trusting of diameter consistency, printability. We have concerns there with quality. Well, we know that people buy them, and we know that they buy them and they run them in their machines because they're affordable. That being said, one of our best partners, Polymaker, has developed a brand new filament to kind of engage people at that price point, the $19.99 dollars, and it's called Polyterra. So Polyterra has the eco-friendly cardboard spool holder for your filament. They've got a nice sticker on here that says every school bot plants one tree, and it's affordable. So that's something that is going to be exciting for us to be able to offer from a credible manufacturer that's going to produce a really good product, but still hit that affordable price point to stretch a budget a classroom would have for their products, different projects that they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. What question or thing you haven't mentioned that we probably should mention to the team here on the phone? Anything else?
Yeah, well, we started talking about what was unique. I mentioned like kind of some core values with that reliability, repeatability, performance. But if I actually show you on the printer itself, there's quite a few things that you'll only find on the LulzBot. I wonder if we can actually get a little bit closer. So we'll look at this Pro S that's printing a bearing set over here. I'll bring the camera over in a second. But cleaning your nozzle is a big part of successful 3D printing. And we actually build in the wiper pad for the nozzle into every one of our printers and have that in the G code. So before it ever actually prints, it'll go over, the nozzle will actually clean just prior to printing. So we've got that, and this is actually set up, if we put a dual extruder on here, there's two. The other thing that people tend to have a lot of issues with is setting the bed corner height. You know, and we mentioned the Ender 3 or some of your Flash Forge models. A lot of those have big turn knobs that you have to try to get the Z offset set so that first layer is going to stick good. Well, we've actually chosen to go and use metal washers. And there's an electrical circuit, 5 volts, that goes from the tip of the nozzle to these corners. And it'll complete that circuit and generate a flat build surface so that the printer can just print. It takes one more step out. You don't have to level this printer before you print. It does that automatically. Also, we mentioned the MakerBot. If you think of like the MakerBot, anything the 5th gen that has your smart extruder that's removable, that setup is magnetic. We actually have a universal mounting design, and these are held on with screws. So one of the frustrations I've had in my past life for the past few years, I've worked on a lot of different models of 3D printer, and the thing with the MakerBots is that smart extruder, you get it up to temperature, you put your filament in, but then if you knock that smart tool head off, you'd have to restart the whole heating process, which is frustrating to say the least. But our printers, the tool heads are actually bolted on, they're sturdy, so if you want to load filament, you want to switch tool heads, whatever you want to do, this machine's going to be tough and be able to take that kind of abuse, especially if you have students doing these different things.
Yeah.
So.
Great.
LulzBot's all about that good foundation. And with a good foundation, that's like a lot. Gotta have a good foundation to build a good house.
So it does its own leveling, John, correct? It basically automatically levels. John, it automatically levels, yes. Correct, is what you're saying, correct? Yeah. Thank you, great. Yep. Anything else, John and Sierra, that you'd like to bring up about your printers?
Well, we're friendly, we're US made. We'll certainly help people do anything to get set up. We like working with Eduporium and everybody there as well. We just think it's a great time to be in 3D printing, and it's a very exciting time to be adding things like this to your classroom. Whether you are teaching remote, teaching in person, or teaching in a hybrid model, we've been able to accommodate all three with our printers and find ways that students can continue to learn this design and printing side.
It equips them for any industry.
So in the remote space, or if they were teachers that were at home and their kids were at home, they could go out. The kids could go off through their Chromebooks, use Tinkercad or something else like that, create their model or whatever they're trying to create, and then send it to the teacher for he or she to print it out and remotely. So
yeah.
So that's one solution you guys would have to, like a remote hybrid solution in the interim, hopefully for just the next couple months as we get through this pandemic.
Yeah, we've even seen it where the printers are held in a kind of a library hub, or an IT department interacts with them, and then students are able to email into those as well. We see that very, very common in like university systems where they'll have 12 printers set up, and the engineering students can design and then email it to that department. And then generally the universities just charge for the material used. But there's a lot of great ways to incorporate 3D printers into your education system or life.
Excellent. Why don't I just last call for any other questions out there? Any other attendees have any other questions? while that's going on, Sierra, you'll send us, you and I will communicate, and I'll put together some of the things that are action items that we'd like to get back to them with some URLs and things like that. So, okay. It looks like we have no other questions. I want to thank John and Sierra. I never realized, I'll be honest with you, I worked with both of you for a while. Didn't realize it was a family thing. That's something cool. We love the fact you're a US company. We love the fact that we can interface directly with you, and you guys are responsive, and you have a US customer support, which is fantastic. I mean, I know we've had quick turnarounds and we've had issues, and they've been very, very little, which is great considering the amount of printers we put out in the last year. So yeah, we're very excited to work with you guys. I want to thank you for your time today. And I want to thank all the attendees out there today for attending. And we will send out a copy of the presentation, a webinar with the, with a copy of the video. And then I will work on some URLs and things like that. So thank you very much. Thanks, John. Thanks, Sierra.
Thanks for having us.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
You
You as
too.
well.
Yep.